Coming to this as well, the ANC in the Western Cape is holding its first elective conference since 2015. The party has had to rely on interim leadership, this due to internal squabbles. Cameron Dugmore, Dyantyi and Lerumo Kalako are all going up against each other for the top job of chairpersonship. Now, for more on this, and rather his leadership bid, as well as the conference, Cameron Dugmore joining me, of course, all the way from Cape Town. Thank you so much, Cameron, for your time, and good morning to you. I think one listen to my intro, the year 2015, quite significant because that was the last time the Western Cape, or at least the ANC in the Western Cape, last saw its elective conference. What would you attribute this delay to, leading to this moment today?
Sorry, I've got a little bit of a cough in cold Cape Town. But just basically say that I think our province has been beset by, divisions, factionalism, battles over leadership. And I think in that process, the organization really weakened in our province. And then what didn't assist, was when the previous when the previous PEC was disbanded and an IPC appointed in Sorry about that. And the IPC appointed in 2019. Essentially, you had an interim structure leading the province from 2019. That was when COVID hit the world and our country, made organizing difficult. We had to go straight into the 2021 elections. And I think the fact that we were weak and divided by internal leadership issues and divisions contributed to the decline. And that's why I think this conference is really an opportunity that we should grab with both hands and begin the process of renewal, unification of the ANC, and focusing on serving our people and gearing up for a much better election performance in 2024. I think progress has been made. You might be aware that in the 2017 Nasrec conference, the Western Cape had the smallest delegation, whereas in 2022, we were actually bigger than two other provinces. So there has been growth, and now this opportunity presents itself for the province to finally elect a new leadership and begin to take the province forward. And I think that's the opportunity which is presented this weekend.
Right. Cameron, last year during the National Elective Conference, I had a sit down with the National Chairperson, Gwede Mantashe. He raised the issue around money as a problem within the ANC in terms of vote buying and how that influences leadership outcomes. And it's one that the ANC Western Cape didn't shy away from. As a province, you also admitted that it's a problem, and understand it's one of the agenda priorities that you will be discussing. How do you aim to turn around the ANC within the province if you still had the lurking dark cloud of vote buying within the party?
No, absolutely. You might have seen from the conference papers that there is an entire discussion document on the issue of money politics in the ANC that was prepared by one of our veterans in the province, Comrade James Zulu. So yes, it is an issue, and I think it goes down to the culture of the organization, what has become often common practice, where certain often outside influences who seek a particular interest or a particular outcome, invest money in conferences, and that is always a challenge. And I think it's about how we engage on the issue and go back to the issues of testing our leadership in terms of what we refer to as the eye of the needle. Who are the cadres able to lead the organization, to resist the temptation of personal advancement, to put our communities and our organization first. So this is why that will be one of the issues discussed at the conference, because it's not only an issue at an elective conference, but it sometimes becomes an issue at list conferences, even before local government elections and so on. So I think it's best, when you're dealing with a problem, it's best to acknowledge it and begin to see. You might have seen the ANC nationally has moved and set up the Electoral Commission, which Dyantyi, our former president, actually chairs, and that has put down guidelines for campaigning, what's acceptable, what's not. And that indicates that in terms of the renewal project of the ANC, there's a very serious attempt to deal with the influence of money in the organization, buying of influence, etc. And I think that's an indication that the ANC acknowledges that as a pathology within the organization and is beginning to, and has already developed guidelines. These processes take time. It's about organizational culture, but the fact that the ANC is addressing it indicates that people are aware of the problem. And although it's going to take time, the fact that we're openly engaging about it is very healthy for the organization.
Yeah, and without a doubt, Cameron, you being one of the candidates who's raised, your hand in terms of standing as a chairperson, as a candidate for the position of chairperson, I suppose my question is why did you stand, for chairpersonship, and should you be elected and voted into that position? What strategies do you have in place to, as a lead, as an individual, number one, set an example, but two, I suppose, turn around the organization within the province?
Yeah, well, as you know, it's not necessarily a question of putting up one's hand. The ANC has a process where branches nominate those that they would like to see in the leadership. I've been approached to stand, and there's been a motivation made by those who feel that I can make a difference. So yes, I have accepted to contest for chairperson. We in this province need to focus on the issue of unity very strongly, but not just unity in a vacuum. We have to build unity around the renewal program. And those that have nominated me believe that I'm a unifying figure in the province, and that we would be able to mobilize activists who possibly moved away from the party, not necessarily joined other parties, but just to become disillusioned by some of the organizational development. So I think we have developed a 10-point plan for the Western Cape, which focuses on the issue of unity based on renewal, the issue of rebuilding branches, becoming a much more effective opposition, and also saying very clearly that we need 406 branches in the Western Cape. We've got 406 wards, but we have fewer branches than that. So it's about establishing an ANC branch and a presence even in the most so-called hostile areas. And we argue that if we get down to basics and have unity in action, one ward, one branch, set up NGOs, work with NGOs, look at the issue of cooperatives, single issue campaigns around safety, which is a massive issue, gangsterism, drugs, the rural communities of our province. We still have skewed ownership patterns here. Only 3% of agricultural land in the Western Cape is owned by Black South Africans, thereby meaning those that had been classified African, coloured or Indian. There's a real resistance to transformation in this province by the DA. And I think it's about winning trust again. So if you're visible in 406 wards across this province, if you're taking up people's issues, if we are united, but also united around renewal, and also we feel very strongly about the core principles of the ANC, the issue of non-sexism, a democratic culture and accountability culture, non-racism, and bringing all of our people together and projecting the ANC as an inclusive organization. We have a strong culture of community organization in our province from the days of the UDF, of uniting people across race and religion, geographic spread. And I think we need the energy and the focus and keeping the team together. This isn't just about a chairperson, it's about a collective leadership. And if we are able to take this opportunity and put in place a team, we can become competitive in the province. The national leadership would also, with the strong ANC in the Western Cape, I think would be able to bring national investment programs. We've seen the development of our harbours in the Western Cape. National has a big footprint here. And these are the things that we would do. Unify around renewal, get onto the ground, get back to basic and insist on unity in action across historical divides.
Yeah, and just in my last question to you as well, I mean, one can't deny the timing of this conference. I mean, it's almost elections in a matter of months now. Are we counting down as a country, going into general elections? Was this also strategic in holding this elective conference so to prepare yourself for, I suppose, as some critics will dub it, a hotly contested general elections next year, with all these different parties also mushrooming up and, signing up with the IEC to be registered? But is this also strategic for you as the ANC to get your house in order ahead of the elections next year?
Well, that's exactly what we have to do. But I think the timing is what it is, given the battles we had in terms of getting our organization ready for this conference. But I think what's also important to note that the IPC has been very active in by-elections. We managed to take the Barrydale ward from the DA. We've held onto all of our wards and improved in many of the areas which were historically DA wards. We've increased our performance. So it's not as though, we're only preparing now. We have been laying the groundwork for this. But yes, after this conference, we will have to have conferences in the strategic regions of Dalla Oma, Victor Melosi, which is in the Southern Cape, move towards the list conference. We've already started our voter registration campaign, doing that on the internet, going around to different communities. There's a lot of excitement about the potential. At one stage, we had 46% of the support in this province. And our objective is not only to contribute to a national victory of the ANC next year, but to contest for power and make sure that we have a vastly improved performance. And given the fatal mistakes that the DA is making, the attempts to cover up corruption, which is very deep in this province, and the strengthening of the ANC, we believe that we are going to be more competitive, more visible, and more on the ground. And that bodes well for the road to 2024.
Well, I appreciate you speaking to me this morning, Cameron. Thank you so much. ANC Western Cape leadership candidate Cameron Dugmore joining me, of course, ahead of the ANC's Western Cape elective conference, being a first since 2015. But of course, Cameron quite adamant that they're quite intentional as a political party in the province